2024 is the year that we will be voting for the President of the United States of America. What does it truly take to administer an election of this magnitude in a city that has over 500,000 registered voters, new laws and technology that have to be implemented with precision by thousands of poll workers on election day? It takes integrity, tenacity, experience, and energy, the qualities possessed by Detroit City Clerk Janice Winfrey. But don't take it from me. Let's hear from some people who know something about leadership, elections, and our community, and see what they have to say.
My name's Chris Thomas. I've been involved in election administration since 1974. Regarding Detroit, I've been involved with them since 1981 when I became Director of Elections for Secretary of State Richard Austin. And I've been working closely with the elections in the city of Detroit ever since. I was Director of Elections from 1981 until I retired in 2017. And since that time, I've worked for the Bipartisan Policy Center in Washington as a fellow, and I work for the Center for Secure and Modern Elections as a consultant. This may be one of the most consequential elections that this country has faced in many, many decades. And there are some very clear choices, and those choices are going to have ramifications for every citizen of this country. It's going to be a determination not only for the presidency, but for state legislators, county officials, township officials. All of these people make a lot of decisions on how and what the quality of life is going to be in our communities.
Being hands-on in the 2020 election, to me, was a change of the norm. I've prided myself in voting in every election, whatever they are. But because there was so much misinformation, and because a lot of people looked to me for truth, then I felt I needed to know the process of actually how things work. And that's why I wanted to move beyond a voting precinct. I wanted to go down to Cobo, where they count the ballots and the votes, and they open up the absentee ballots and all of that. And it was a wide opening and an eye-opening experience for me, because I actually saw the need for individuals who can participate in the process of not just voting, but helping to process the votes. And that was an eye-opening experience for me, and I will never forget it. And I could come back and say, with all of the misinformation that was going on, and you remember, Cobo Hall was being stampeded by individuals who said that there were things going on downstairs that I know were not going on because I was there. And I'm able now to speak, not for all, trust those people down there. No, I was one of them. I was down there. So all that you heard, it was nonsense.
For the 2020 presidential election, there's a couple of things specific to our canvassing process. Of course, COVID was in full effect, which meant that we had staff that for their own safety reasons, they didn't want to work the canvas. With the CDC standards and as far as social distancing, et cetera, it called for us to have to readjust our processes, as well as the threats that were out there toward election officials, and especially when it came to the part of certifying the election. That warranted me to have to reach out to who was then our sheriff, Benny Napoleon, and request that he had a detail assigned to our canvassing area for the duration of the entire canvass. And with that 2020 presidential election, that was a record number of voter turnout. So that also called for more lengthier times for reporting the results of the election. So 2020 had us all on our toes. However, we all understood the assignment and we got the job done.
In 2020, she shifted entirely to a process of high-speed counters, for example, to handle the volume. That was done during a pandemic when most people were not going to an office. Very difficult to do, but done successfully. So her vision is really of a Detroit where the voters start to increase their turnout, that they start to take advantage of the opportunities that are offered. And she has gone out of her way in many respects to open this process to them. And that has been really her vision.
Doesn't surprise me that she would then see, gee, here are people lined up who don't want to, stand in a long line at a polling location. They want to vote early. What can I do to make that more accessible and easier for people to accomplish what they want to do, to exercise their important right to vote? So I think her teaching gives her a sensitivity and a connection to people at an individual level that's just as important as having a view of the big picture, the overall strategy that needs to be in place.
Janice came into office not as an election official. As I indicated, she's a teacher. And teachers generally learn. They are lifetime learners. They understand that. Nothing is static. And she understands that the biggest thing in election administration over the last 8 years has been change. And it's been one change after another. And by and large, they've been changes for the better. But there have also been difficult circumstances, such as a pandemic. So that has tested her mettle in terms of being able to adapt and to turn on a dime to make the changes that are necessary. And she has done that.
For the last 4 elections, Clerk Winfrey and her team have been 95% or greater accurate in the balancing of their precincts at our canvas. And what that means is that the poll books, as well as the number of ballots that have been tabulated, they should match up. So the number of voters that are listed in the poll book should be in sync with the number of ballots that were tabulated, and they've been on the money.
I think one of the things that is unique when you're from Detroit and you're still working on behalf of Detroit is that you've been woven together with the thread of sensitivity because she's been a part of this city and she continues to be a part of this city. I believe it tenderizes you. I believe it sensitizes you. I believe it's not just something you do, but it becomes a part of who you are. And it's not hard for her to continue to do because it's who she is. It's the fabric, it's the thread that's been used together to wove together the fabric of her experience, her perspective, and her compassion and sensitivity. And so that's why it's not hard for people like me and others to come around her, because it's not just her job alone. It's all of our responsibility to help shelve and shoulder this principle and this treasured gift that we have called democracy.
So many times I hear people say things like, we got to get it right, we got to get it right. When did we get it wrong? That's the thing I want you to understand. So obviously, as I indicated to you, I've been voting. I've never been disappointed in my vote. I voted prior to voting absentee ballot. I voted physically. I've never had a problem. But since Janice Winfrey has been there, and I know that we've had problems down through the years. I've been here over 50 years. So you must understand, but under her tenure, I have never had any problems or anybody that was concerned about her integrity or her overlooking the election, but more so her team. That's what I love about it. It's just not about Janice, it's her team, and her team reflects her integrity as well.
When you think about the integrity of the election and the counting and the processing of the vote, I think that it's about as good as you're going to see. It's about the best that any company or corporation or country, Democratic Party or Republican Party, they all played a part in it. You know, downtown in Detroit at Cobo Hall, people would think, well, that's an urban area, that's a lot of high black population. But downstairs, processing and counting the vote, that was Democrats, Republicans, black, white, other ethnicities, and people on each side of the playing field.
I have found that mainstream media likes to report what went wrong, what is bad. I believe in giving credit where it's due. I have total confidence that Clerk Winfrey and her staff will do an excellent job, as they have done in the past 4 elections, and the media didn't report that. They will do a great job because they don't wait until the point of the election to train election inspectors. They don't wait until the point of the election to check out their precinct locations and make sure that those are in order. I think that they will be ready to get the job done.